Vanessa, back in 2012, the tourism industry, along with the tourism agencies, came together to develop a strategy for Britain to return it to growth. At the time, Ireland had lost over 1 million visitors from Britain. Thankfully, the recovery is well underway, and we should expect around 3.3 million visitors from Britain this year. Is that how you see it?
Absolutely, Owen. I say we're delighted from a GB perspective to see the latest CSO stats year to date in 2015 showing an increase of 11%, which, as you well know, is on the back of successive strong years for GB, and that will take us, as I say, to 3.3 million estimated visitors by the end of this year, which is really getting back to our record year back in 2007. So I think we're only a couple of 100,000 shy of that, which is terrific news from a market that was in distress several years ago.
Indeed, that's excellent news, and we've just seen here today at Tourism Ireland's marketing plan launch for 2016 how positive an impact that has had on the wider industry. To what to your mind are the big factors driving this strong recovery from what is still Ireland's largest source market?
Obviously, there are a lot of factors involved in driving the GB consumer to visit Ireland. It's quite a complex picture, so there are obviously economic factors such as confidence, consumer confidence within the GB market, which has had renewed confidence over the last couple of years. A very favourable exchange rate between the euro and sterling also helps. The output from the far-reaching Path to Growth project, which has allowed us to be much more targeted in our segmentation, is undoubtedly yielding benefits and driving consumers. So I think also perception in value, the improved perception of value from the GB consumer to Ireland has also increased. So I think a combination all coming together to create a perfect storm has allowed us really to get this market back in business.
Indeed, it's a myriad of factors. And in terms of the segmentation approach, are we seeing growth coming from all three of the segments, Social Energisers, Culturally Curious and the Great Escapers, or is one more dominant than the other?
Yeah, I think as you'll remember from the output of Path to Growth, we decided to roughly divide up the market looking at sort of a 60-40 split between the Culturally Curious and the Great Escapers versus the Social Energisers. We're beginning to see that data and coming back in the profiling, working with Forge Ireland, and we're delighted to see that about 42% of the overall visitors are falling into one of those three target segments. It also looks like the profiles, the way we've divided up our marketing spend and resources, is actually mirroring that and coming through between the three segments. What's interesting to note is some overlap that we're actually seeing between the Culturally Curious and the Social Energisers, which is interesting. So that's something we're going to look into a little bit further, sift through that data and feed into our plans going forward. But generally I think we're in a good place.
Excellent. And of course we're well ahead of the targets set back in 2012 in that GB Path to Growth report. In fact, 2015 will comfortably exceed the targets set then for 2016, which is a great place to be. How do you see the next couple of years panning out?
Yeah, as you say, we will exceed the targets, because the revenue targets will be challenging. Next year is the final year of our corporate plan within Tourism Ireland, so we'll be setting off on the next cycle of that for 2017. And I think we'll be looking carefully at what our brand challenges are, what our market challenges are, and what targets we ought to be looking at. And I've no doubt they'll be set particularly high, given that we're going from strength to strength at the moment. But I think we'll also have to look at what the environment is offering us and what challenges are there, which might be very, very different in even a year's time.
In terms of those challenges, I know there's some concerns about capacity in Dublin and so on, and perhaps a few economic clouds on the horizon. Are there any specifics that you'd like to reference at this point?
Yes, I think the capacity issue is possibly number one on our list. It's something we've been monitoring closely over the past 18 months or so. We've had feedback from the trade, from the GB trade in particular. They're seeing that as a challenge. We're pushing people outside Dublin, which is perhaps not a bad thing. It's, however, when it becomes difficult in terms of us losing business that it becomes a real problem. And we're beginning to see that heading that way. So that is a big watch out for us. The value issue, we've made huge inroads into improving the perception of value for the GB consumer. We're starting to see, obviously from a demand point of view, that change a little bit, and we just need to make sure that we keep on top of that and don't price the GB consumer out of the market. Otherwise there is a danger we'll find ourselves back where we were a few years, which I know none of us want to be.
Exactly, we have to learn from our past. And despite those challenges, and despite, I know, pressures on your marketing budget, you're still hopeful of growth for 2016?
Yes, I think we are. Again, I think all the factors are in our favour at the moment. We have had reduced budgets, but we're making that spend go further. We're being much more clever with our digital advertising and online communications. I think next year will be also positive. Who knows what the world will look like even in a year's time, and there's always changes on the horizon, and that we'll monitor, but for the short term we're in a good place tonight, to say.
Super. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your continued good work by you and the Tourism Ireland team in GB.
Thank you very much, Ewan.